we need to give comic book movies more respect. That is a fantastic film that just happens to be about a comic book character, but it's a great film with great protagonist, antagonist. And I think most people like it. But one of my good friends doesn't like it, and I can never forgive him for that.
They like it. They're just being contrarian, man. They like it. They don't be fooled by that. You know, they ain't one of those people everybody likes, so I'm gonna be the person that don't like it. They're lying. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Korey here. Middle of the day. You know I don't like to wake up early, so you know I'm waking up early for somebody very special, as usual. And a lot of you know I've been kind of dabbling in comedy a little bit myself these days, which is why it's great to talk to someone who has far more success and experience than I do. So I could probably learn something during this discussion. But I want to welcome to our interview today, Mr. Kevin Fredericks. How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I am looking forward to hearing what you have to say and learning a lot from you. But before we start, we were talking before, I was congratulating you not only on being successful, but continuing to blow up even more right now. If you don't mind, I'm just going to talk about some of the big things that you have going on. And then, like I said, we're going to let you kind of run the conversation. But right now,
Okay.
you have your tour coming up this year in 2024. And on top of that, you have two shows. You have a new show on BET Plus, Churchy, which is premiering on February 15th. And you also have Friday Night Vibes currently on TBS. And I'm going to get this out the way so that people, if anybody wants to reach out to Kevin, you can do so. You are very, very, very prominent on social media. You have the tag name KevOnStage. That's KevOnStage. You can put that on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. I think if you put KevOnStage on any of those platforms, you'll come right up, right?
That's correct. And on TikTok, it's KevOnStage TikTok. But other than that, it's KevOnStage everywhere else.
Okay, sorry about that. I knew I was going to get one of these
No
mixed
worries.
up, man.
There's a lot of fake pages on TikTok, so I just wanted to give people the right one.
Got you. So now that we got that all out the way and put all those out there, let's go into a discussion about these things and even more about yourself.
Sure.
So right now, as I said, you are very successful, but you're very successful in a very competitive area, which is comedy. So what was your big breakout, and what is it about yourself that makes you stand out amongst all the other competition out there?
I don't think I had a big breakout per se. There wasn't like one thing or another that was like, after that, nothing was the same. I think, my career is really just a culmination of being very diligent and very consistent over a long period of time. I think that's probably also what separates me from the rest of my other comedians is I'm very consistently promoting. Been doing at least a video a day, especially if you average it out every day for the last 10 or so years. And I kind of focus on what I do well. I'm a happily married man. I'm a father. I'm a church kid, things like that. And I think I just focus on what makes me uniquely me. A friend of mine, Patrick Cloud, actually he coined the term that I like to use, aggressively genuine. And he was saying, if you're aggressively genuine, you'll stand out. And I think that's kind of what I've done. I just focused on being me, myself, and my point of view, and then being consistent about it. I think that's what's opened so many doors for me.
I think that's the key word, man. Consistency. I don't think a lot of people who see successful people realize the time that they put into it. How many years have gone behind
Yeah.
it? You said 10 years.
Yeah, it's actually going to be 11 now. I realize we're 2024. I've just been so used to saying almost 10 or 10, but technically it'll be in March, which is only a couple weeks away. It'll be 10 years since we moved, 11 years, I'm sorry, since we moved to LA. And pretty much the moment we landed in LA, I was very serious and very consistent about my stand-up career and my social media career and how those work together. So yeah, I think that's really the thing that makes me me more than anything.
I got to ask you because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering this themselves. So, consistency, hard work, of course, those are key. You
Hmm.
move to LA though. Would you say location, especially moving out to LA, is something important?
I believe it depends on what you are doing, and I also would say the the ground has shifted beneath us, especially as a result of the pandemic. I think there's a lot of people who have great success who don't live in LA or don't live in LA full time. They just come with for work. I think one of the great things about LA is there's a lot of activity here, a lot of players here, a lot of opportunities here, but it's also very expensive to live here. So that's a key factor that's hard to beat. So I think the internet has been the great equalizer. You can build your career, especially if you're doing it like how I do, online from anywhere. There's amazing creators that I follow from South Carolina, Mississippi, St. Louis, wherever. And when it's time for those opportunities, most of the times the brand will fly you out, or you can save enough money by not living in LA to pay for your own trip when you need to. So if you're going to be an actor, LA, New York, Atlanta are the places where the most work is offered. But because of like self tapings and things like that, you don't have to start your career here nor be here full time to have success.
Yeah. No, I kind of know what you mean. I'm going through kind of the same thing myself. I fly out to New York to do shows regularly, but I'm here in Austin. So,
Yeah.
and then definitely what you're saying is true. Um, you spoke of the pandemic. How did you get through that during that period?
I think one of my greatest skills, and it's kind of what got me through the pandemic, is I pivot. Like, obviously, I'm a stand up, I mean, not obviously, but I'm a stand up comedian who tours regularly, have been since 2018. And I, like everybody else in the business, had dates that were canceled because of the pandemic. And I created a show called Keep Your Distance Comedy. Once LA was able to socially distance 20 or 30 people outside, we were taping shows and streaming them online. And it was a great opportunity to continue to do what I loved, create opportunities for other people, other comedians, and also serve an audience. And then in addition to that, it was just consistent on my podcasts and videos. And, a friend of mine created a show called Zooming with the Homies, and we were doing that. I think just making content and being in people's face when they needed it was absolutely helpful to my career. So I think those 2 years, especially 2020, when the majority of the country was quarantined for a couple months, was instrumental in, keeping the fans I had and created some stronger bonds with fans that I had, and created some new ones as well. And people look fondly about that. People often stop me and say, "Man, you saved me during the pandemic," and I think they just mean we gave them something to laugh about during a very difficult time. And people don't quickly forget that when you were a great memory in a difficult time. So, just pivot and be consistent again is what I did, and how we won.
Flexibility.
Yeah.
Don't let anything
Yeah,
get you down.
absolutely.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Work with what you got, man, no matter how crazy or difficult it may be. Um, you talk about touring. Now, like I don't know what your attitude on touring is. I kind of get the feeling that you really enjoy touring.
I do. I really love, making people laugh. Live performance is my favorite type of performance. It's what makes me feel the most alive, is making somebody laugh in real life, giving somebody a show of their life for that hour and a half, 2 hours. You're unable to think about everything else that could be going wrong in your life. You're just here having a good time. So I love getting able to tour and make people laugh all over the United States, and sometimes little pieces of the world, but I wouldn't say all over the world yet, just certain cities in the world.
Yeah. Well, okay, well, let's talk about touring in depth here. So, you just
Hmm.
mentioned, you're a family man. You got a wife, got a child.
Hmm.
Um, so when you're touring, how difficult is it having being a family man? How difficult does it make that for you?
Yeah, people often ask me, how do I balance it all? And the answer is I don't balance it. I I try to. It's like a seesaw. You're gonna, be heavy work, and then when I get home, I try to make sure it's heavy family time. So generally during tour, I usually do less meetings, less shoots, and things like that, and I'm I try to be more active date nights with my wife, making sure I'm hanging out with my kids and things like that. But the truth of the matter is, when you're doing something you love, you're going to be missing out on something else you love. So when I'm not on tour, I try to make sure I'm as when I'm on tour. I'm sorry, I try to make sure I'm as much present, or if not more present, when I'm home. But the other thing is, my kids are growing up, so they're at the age when things with their friends are more important than things with their parents. So that benefits me a little bit. They don't make me feel as guilty as I used to feel when they were young. And my wife understands, and she tries to come to as many shows as she can, but she also has her own things going on. So we just try to make sure we connect as much as possible when I am home, when I'm on tour a lot.
So how old are your kids now?
They're 17 and 15.
Oh, so they don't want to be around you. This
No.
point, it's beneficial for everybody.
Yeah, they come home and say what's up, and then they go to their rooms and chat up with their friends. So it works out.
Oh yeah, they're happy that dad's a comedian, not because you're funny, because you're gone. Yeah,
Right.
that's good. No, that's really good, man. So
Thank you.
where's the how? I guess you say you're worldwide now. So I guess I'm trying to think like, have you gone international yet? Have you gone to some other
Yeah,
countries?
I performed in London a couple times. This last tour we performed in Berlin. So just London and Berlin as of right now.
I can get London. I have a cousin in London. I go to London all the time. I guess I relate to London because there's a lot of black people there. When you're talking about comedy, this is
Yeah, yeah.
and they speak
Hmm.
they speak English. There's a lot of black people there.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
Berlin, on the other hand, how does that work?
You know, it's very interesting. There was people at our Berlin show that English wasn't their first language. They were just coming out for a good time. There was obviously some of our fans were there. Some people in the military were stationed there or stationed close to Germany, and that was the closest show we could get to. But you just go out there and go hard, man. I think there's some cultural relevances that your jokes might have that people just won't get, but you try it as best you can to connect with the audience and do your best. But definitely it's a little tougher crowd than a United States crowd.
Okay, so do you, when you go to Germany, do you say, all right, I got to kind of tailor these jokes around for the Germans so they can understand, or I don't offend, or something that I can make it more, I guess, universal.
Yeah, I mean, I usually try to connect with them, but my jokes, I wouldn't say I tailor my jokes to them. I would say, I'm trying to give an example, but I think the best way to explain it is I try to connect with them as opposed to being like, I'm going to write some jokes specifically for a German audience. I like to make my jokes very specific to me and tell you about my story and the way I see the world and hope to bring you into what I do. And I think that's probably a better description of my approach.
Yeah, and when you talk about stories, jokes are one things, and stories can be jokes also. But man, you find you begin to discover that, man, with certain stories, those are universal. A lot of people go through the same thing. Do you find that out when you start to talk to an international audience?
Absolutely. You'd be surprised how many things are not bound by language or culture or age. And I think that's why my approach is to just talk about myself, what I like, what I dislike, and how I see the world. And I think as you learn about me, you can find the humor in that as opposed to, you know, any other approach. And I don't think there's a right or wrong way to approach comedy. I think that's just my approach. And I think that's what's given me the career that I have.
Gotcha. Uh, so speaking of touring and people that you probably work with, you collaborate with a comedian, Tony Baker, a lot.
Hmm.
Do you mind if I show a clip of
No,
Tony
of
right
course.
here? Because
Oh,
I saw this clip
please.
and it actually cracked me up, man, and it was cracking you up too. It's the clip about bad news. You know what I'm talking about? Uh,
I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure I'll figure it out once you play it.
okay, here it is.
Got some bad news about your aunt, Kevin. She was
Oh yeah.
assaulted by her scarecrow on her farm.
Oh, that darn scarecrow.
The scarecrow, he broke a Hennessy bottle over her head and gave her the business. There was no sexual assault.
Oh,
It
Katie.
was pure physical, just straight beat down. He beat your aunt's ass.
It's just a surreal bit that Tony's doing to make you laugh, talking about how your aunt was beaten by her scarecrow on the floor. So how did you come to collaborate with Tony Baker so much?
I was a fan of Tony's before I even moved from Washington to LA. I met him at a comedy club in Washington, Nate Jackson's comedy club. And when I moved to LA, he's one of the people I reached out to. I used to work at a digital company called All Def Digital, and I was the head of talent and content. And he was one of the first comedians that I reached out to because I just admired his comedy and his comedic approach so much. So I think, you know, I made sure that we were friends. I hired him a lot when I worked at All Def. When I went on my first 2 tours, I took him out with me. And I try to work with him as much as I can. I think he's one of the most talented and brilliant individuals, and he's one of the greatest people I know, and he's great to be around. And look, when you're going to be on set for a long time, 2 hours or 12 hours, you want to be around good people. So I definitely make sure to work with Tony as much as possible.
You know, you and Tony must work pretty well together. I mean, you work great individually, but you both were mentioned in the same interview by Katt Williams. Of course, everyone has seen the viral interview with Katt Williams, who was being interviewed by Shannon Sharp right here. As I said, you and Tony were mentioned by him. Again,
did he say our names? I don't think he said our names, did he?
I think he had. Well, you know what? I'm now you got me wondering. But
I definitely was listening for it. I was hoping for it, but I think he mentioned some young comedians. I know he mentioned like DC Young Fly and Just Hilarious and Chico Bean, but I don't think he mentioned us by name. He has before, but I don't think he did in the Shannon Sharp interview. I wish he had.
Not in the Shannon Sharp interview. He did not.
Yeah, he has before though.
In this interview right here, he did.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and just play a snippet of this real quick so that people can hear.
Okay.
You know, Kevin actually mentioned your name.
Recently gotten the status that they think, and the issue becomes, okay, let's say you do have it. You've got the crown. Well, part of the rest of this is how you carry it, how you hold it, and how long you keep it up there. And so that's what the Tony Bakers and the Tahirs and that's what these new guys bring to that forum is, you know, KevOnStage. These guys are giving you different variations of our craft, and that's important as well.
So when was this interview, this particular one?
Ooh, no more than 2 years ago. I think it was a year ago or so, I believe. I'm not totally sure. It was within the last 2 years, if I'm not mistaken.
So yeah, you know, it seems like Katt has always carried some weight with his words. So, you know, what was it like being mentioned by Katt Williams?
I mean, it was great. You know, Katt Williams is one of the best stand-up comedians of a generation. He's one of my favorite stand-up comedians. He's one of the funniest people in the world. Often I am greatly unaware of who is watching the videos and who's paying attention to the stuff that I'm doing. So to be noticed by someone who I admire as much as Katt is great. I was very happy he said that. So no, it was a dream come true. It's like being a basketball player and LeBron saying, "Man, you hooping" on the interview. It was fantastic.
Did you notice any kind of impact on your career after he said anything?
I mean, there was a lot of, boy, that's what's up. Kev, can you believe that? We rocking with you, Kev. So, you know, on that end, it was tremendous.
Switching over now to some of the projects you got going on. Churchy, which we just mentioned, which will be on BET Plus on February 15th. I'm going to show people just a little bit of the series right here so that, again, they can have some context as to what we're talking about.
Okay.
You could be a spectacular pastor. You know how to get the hearts and the likes, but can you change a life, son?
Our church is thriving because of me.
It's time for the big announcement.
I'm so excited that you had a chance to join me today. We're about to be blessed.
I'm here to announce and introduce you all to the new pastor, someone who is my spiritual son, Pastor Cleophas Patterson.
I'm your real son.
What's the process like of putting together and selling a series?
I can only speak to how we did it with Churchy. I think the first part is creating something that you truly believe in. I believe, Churchy was sold because it was a show that I believed in, a vision I had for it was very clear. And I think BT was looking for stories like this. I think it's a better approach to me is to create something that you really feel passionate about and then pitch that as opposed to trying to see what the market wants and trying to create something that you think the market will want. I think a lot of people approach it like that. And sometimes they get sold like that. But I think for me, it was a better approach to say, this is what means a lot to me. This is what I know a lot about. I'm going to make this and hopefully somebody buys it. So I think that's for me was important. We partnered with Spring Hill and they had a relationship with BT and they kind of set the meetings up and set up the pitches and things like that. And because of that partnership, it led to the BT partnership. And I'm really ecstatic. The show airs on BT Plus on February 15th. So make sure to get that and watch that. So hopefully we can get a season 2.
Well, you stay promoting, don't you? That's good.
Got to do it, man. Got to do it. When you're on doubletoasted.com, you got to do it.
Or anywhere, man.
Anywhere.
I understand. Yeah. I get it, man. I get it. I should be trying to be like you, man. That's why I'm listening to you right now. I'm looking at you like a mentor at this moment. So there were no other people that you were thinking about to sell this or pitch this to. It was always going to be BET.
No, I wouldn't say that. I just I was pitching it all over the place before we sold it, and then I was unable to get anybody to bite on it. And then we made it. And once we made it, produced it, it was on my app, the KevOnStage Studios app first, and then we sold it to BT. And I do believe that having the show and making it, it's much easier, or it's a much easier sale. And not that everybody can do this or should do this, but having the show already done, shot and edited, I think that was a key factor in getting it sold, because it's much easier to take a risk on something that's been made than to try to get somebody to see the vision on something you want to make.
When you say that the show was already made all the way down to editing and completion, so how does that happen? Does that require you spend your own money, or did you raise some money to get it done?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways, but in our situation, we spent our own money that we saved. Obviously, I'm a working comedian and I act and do tours and brand deals, and we saved. My wife does all those as well, except act. But she acts in our videos, but she doesn't, act on TV. But anyway, we saved our money, decided to do it together, and we shot and edited. Luckily for me, I had a career in digital media, so I knew how to create budgets and come in under budget. And luckily for me also, people wanted an opportunity. So a lot of people worked with me that came in under their rate because they wanted to work on a project like this. So I wouldn't advise everybody, spend the amount of money I spent on 8 episodes, but sometimes it's just making a trailer or shooting a scene so people can get an idea of it. I think there's a lot of different ways to do it, but it's much easier to see the vision when the vision's been created.
So when you said it was done, was it 1 episode that you finished?
All 8.
Oh, really? All 8?
All 8, yeah.
Wow. Okay. How long is each episode?
Around between 25 and 30 minutes.
Okay, so it's different being 25 minutes as opposed to probably being an hour-long episode then.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Hour-long. Most comedies are 30 minutes. So we wanted to stick around that number, 20 to 30 minutes.
That's amazing,
drama
man.
It'd been more expensive.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So I would imagine as far as there's a lot. You're in a creative field, and a lot of people when they go into a creative field, that's the first thing that they know. But it seems like you have a pretty strong business mind too, in addition to being creative.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that's something I probably inherited from my mom. She's always run a business for as long as I can remember. And I ran businesses when I was younger. I had sold candy. I used to live on a military basis. We buy stuff from the commissary, which was like a grocery store. They would sell things cheaper. You know, candy would be 25, 30 cents there. I'd buy it for 30 cents and then sell it for $1 at school. I had a lawn care business, and I just continued to grow in business. I always had to market those businesses. I remember when I was selling candy, a friend of mine undercut me because he was stealing candy, selling it for 50 cents. And I wasn't willing to steal candy, even though he had better profit margins. He ended up eventually getting caught and arrested when he was young. And I was like, whoo, see, that's why you don't do wrong. But yeah, I think marketing and business are also things that I've been blessed to have a good grasp on. I think that's something that separates me as well.
Nice. So you would recommend a lot of people, especially if you are pretty much self-employed or you're running your own business, definitely have that business state of mind.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I think, when you're self-employed, you are your own everything. Your own business manager often, your biggest belief. I think there's so many things that you are. Your marketing department, social media department, at least when you first start out. So you got to have the most belief in yourself than anybody else, I believe.
Friday Night Vibes. There's a lot of discussion about movies and film there. You a big fan of movies?
Huge fan of movies. Always liked movies. Grew up watching movies. Back in my day, which I hate saying, but I'm 40 now, so I definitely have my day. Movies were a huge part of my childhood. We were big blockbuster video renters on Friday nights. We watched a lot of movies as a family. I watched a lot of movies by myself, watched a lot of movies on TV. So having an opportunity to do, Friday Night Vibe where Nina Parker and I talk movies and, do fun little segments in between movies was like a dream come true because all the movies that we talked about this season, I've watched. So it was so interesting to have an opportunity to do that show with something that was already something that I like to do. So I mean, it's just been a tremendous blessing, man. I can't even explain how crazy the last couple of months have been.
I think people are surprised by the variety of taste that comedians have when it comes to something like film and music. Jordan Peele, surprised a lot of people by being a huge fan of horror. Do you have a particular genre of film that you love?
Believe it or not, I'm a humongous World War II history buff. I've seen a lot of World War II history movies, a lot of the shows like The Pacific, Band of Brothers, things like that. Saving Private Ryan is in my top 5 movies, period. I don't even know what it is or where it came from, but I love me some World War II movies. So yeah, most people are often surprised by how much I'm interested in history and specifically war history, specifically World War II history. But yeah, it's the truth.
So if we ever see a movie directed by Kevin Fredericks, then we shouldn't be surprised. You heard it here.
Shouldn't be surprised. If you've been following closely, you'll know that World War II history is my jam. So that would be an amazing thing to be a part of.
Nice. So you mentioned your top 5. I shouldn't do this. I'm being a hypocrite because people often ask me, what's your number 1 favorite movie? And I say, I can't answer that because I don't really have one. But you just said you had a top 5. Can you name that top 5 right now?
Movies?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Dark Knight.
Wow.
Saving Private Ryan, Inception, Forrest Gump, and Memento. And yes, Christopher Nolan shows up more than once in my movies, but he's an amazing director, and I love him, and I will not apologize for it.
That's funny. If I'm absolutely pressed against the wall, they say, what's your favorite movie? Dark Knight always comes up number 1 for me, man.
Listen, I think we need to give comic book movies more respect. That is a fantastic film that just happens to be about a comic book character, but it's a great film with great protagonist, antagonist. And I think most people like it, but one of my good friends doesn't like it, and I can never forgive her for that.
They like it. They're just being contrarian, man. They like it. They don't be fooled by that. They're one of those people, everybody likes it, so I'm going to be the person that don't like it. They're lying. I'm holding them to that. A couple of things before we go.
Okay.
So this is probably something that's a little sensitive, so you can tell me not to talk about it or you don't want to talk about it if that's the case. But your brother passed away. You've not been afraid to tell jokes about his passing. It can get a little dark. It could also be very funny. May I show this clip here where you're on stage talking about your brother right here? Like I said, very dark, but also very funny.
Crazy thing is, my brother passed away from a massive heart attack. Okay, massive heart attack. And I talked to him the day he passed away, within 5 minutes of the heart attack. Talking to him in the group chat with him, my boys. We have a sports group chat. We talk about other stuff, but mostly sports. So we were talking about Ime Udoka and Nia Long. That was the day. He cheated on Nia Long with the people. You know, we was talking about, oh my God, man, Nia Long, this dude cheated. He gonna lose his job. And then my friend was like, hey man, Nia Long not even that fine. My girl's prettier than her. And I think that's what did it. I think that pushed him over the edge. Can you imagine? Like, we seen your girl on Instagram, nigga, that is not Nia Long. He probably saw that. He was like, well, I'm out of here. I'm just...
So, you know, again, I don't know if that's a way of coping with it or if, you know, again, you're just not afraid to kind of just bare your soul in front of an audience. But have you ever been criticized for being too dark?
I definitely have been criticized for being too dark. But the thing about it is we all are coping in our own way. Luckily for me, I don't feel bad about using comedy to cope because that's how I move through life. And my brother and I use comedy all the time as well. If the situation was reversed, he would be making his own jokes, and I'm pretty certain he thinks what I've said is funny. So, you know, people have a right to criticize you, and you have a right to do what you think is best. And as long as you're not harming someone or treating people poorly, I think it's okay to agree to disagree on certain things. So it's okay if you don't think it's funny or too dark, but dark is relative. Some people like dark humor, and I want to make sure that you like what I say. So I'm going to do whatever I think is the funniest.
Is there a style of comedy that you personally don't like?
That I don't like?
You seem to respect everyone and everyone's style of comedy, but if, you know, for you, is there something where you just say that's just not the right way to do it?
I think anytime for me, I think what I don't enjoy is shock value for shock value's sake, right? You're just saying wild things, but there's not even an attempt at a joke there. I think there's some comedians who cross the line, but do so in a very clever and creative way. I got no problem with that, but I think sometimes people are just like, I'm going to say something wild, and there's not even an attempt at a punchline. And that's not my personal brand of comedy that I seek out. And that's how I'll put it. But, you know, I think obviously you make your audience, and if you're not hurting nobody, you know what I'm saying, do you, but I probably won't be a part of your audience.
I kind of agree with you on that. Shock value just for the sake of just saying something that's cheap. You
Yeah.
know, that's lazy and that's cheap.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100% on that. Last thing, how did you get on a Spectrum commercial?
It's funny, like most things that I've gotten, there was a fan in there that worked, that rooted for me. I believe the writer of the first commercial was a fan of mine, and he recommended me to Spectrum. And I auditioned, and they liked me, and we've been shooting commercials for 4 years now, maybe 5 years now. Yeah, I think 5 years now. And obviously, I got Tony in, and my wife, and Tahir and Ron G and Danny, and, you know, as many of my people in as I possibly can. But so much of my career I owe to people who are a fan of me, championing me, and bringing my name up in rooms where I'm not aware that it's happening. So that's definitely what happened there.
Well, again, thank you for your time. And like
You're
I said,
welcome.
man, it's been a real inspiration to me personally talking to you. And congratulations on everything that's been happening. Once again, everybody, Kevin Fredericks. Kevin, just to remind people, you are on tour right now. Anything? I tell you what, I talked for you when we started. You want to go ahead, and you're great at promoting.
Yeah.
You're better at promoting yourself than me. You want to tell everybody everything that's going on?
Absolutely. I'm KevOnStage. You can find me everywhere most social media sites are, at KevOnStage, KevOnStage.com is my website. I'm on tour right now. Here's the Thing Tour. Dates all over the United States. Churchy's out on BET Plus this February 15th. Friday Night Vibes on TBS every first Friday all year long. So any of those things will be great. All of those things will be better. And I appreciate you. Even if you don't do nothing else, watch this video and move on with your life. I appreciate you for watching this.
Well, I definitely appreciate you and thank you. And I've said it a lot. I'll say it again. Can't say it enough. Congratulations on everything, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you. All right. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. And if you excuse me, people, you got to put this dog down. And as usual, at the end of these interviews, I got to get up and kind of show you my crotch and my ass as I go over here to stop. Then, you know what? I just realized I don't really have to get up and cut that off. I only do it when people refuse to leave, but I really don't have to do that. So I don't know why. Look at me. I'm unprofessional. That's why I don't have a level of success as that, man. Come here, Pixie. We're going to say goodbye to everybody real quick. And once again, I want to thank Kevin Fredericks for coming in and doing the interview. And I want to thank everybody out there who's watching. And thank you for all the support that you give to everything that we do. And I love doing these interviews. At this point, just kind of a personal hobby of mine, but I love it. I think I've gotten better with everything because I've been allowed to do these, and you have been a big part of that. So again, I want to thank all of you out there for helping us continue. And if you enjoyed this interview, then check it out. I believe we still put up stuff on Double Toasted Interviews. That's on YouTube. Just type in Double Toasted Interviews. It'll take you to that page, and you'll see all of the interviews that we've done with a lot of interesting people in entertainment, anywhere from animators to actors to comedians, directors, all kind of people. Always learn something from these. Check it out. I'm sure you will too. And check out everything else that we do. Just everything Double Toasted in general. Check out our YouTube. Check out, this will definitely be on TikTok. TikTok's been doing very well right now. Again, thanks to you out there. And well, you know what? I could go into detail about all this stuff, but if you have any questions for me, you know what to do. kcoolmans@gmail.com. That's KCOOLMANZ@gmail.com. Email us with any kind of questions, comments, compliments, insults, input, and our advice. Hit us up on all of our social medias. This needs to be updated, but hey, we got an Instagram, Twitter, now X, Facebook. Also, I just mentioned TikTok. Patreon is also offering a lot of stuff out there for you these days. So just type in Double Toasted on any of those platforms. It will take you where you need to be. And also, if you find yourself here in Austin, Texas, we'd love to meet you all personally. So when you do come, we just ask that you do one thing for us. Email us first, kcoolmans@gmail.com. Let us know what your plans are for Austin, because we like to make time for you. We want to give you all the quality time that we can, and we don't want you to catch us busy where we got to tell you no. Oh, we hate telling you no. So please give us an opportunity to tell you yes, and email us first, kcoolmans@gmail.com. What are your plans for Austin? Are you moving here, or are you just passing through? Whatever it is that you're doing, let us know, and I promise you, we'll do our best to hang out with you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching everything that we do, including this. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are listening to or watching this. Goodbye, and stay toasty.